when you come to this site, actually, this is like a menu page. It's like a table of contents, actually. So if you click on the correct icon, and this is the icon for docs, it will take you to this page. Now, this is what Darcy is going over in the basic room. Those are all the things she's going over, but maybe you know all those things already, or you just need a refresher on them later. You can go back and look at these slides later. This is what I'm going to be going over today. So right now, it may look like a crazy list, but we are going to get through it. So like I said, get your notes. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and get started. So I want to talk really quickly about some Google basics. Now, these are some things that are across the board with Google. So we have the waffle. Yes, these are all food words, I admit. So if you click on the waffle, you're going to go to the other Google apps. So where you're going to find the waffle is on places like the Google page, on the Drive page, on all the main pages, right? Gmail, there's the waffle as well. And you can go to the other Google Docs using the waffle. There's also the kebab or the hamburger. And those are actually other menus. So if you ever see a kebab or a hamburger, you know that there's another menu hidden there. So sometimes you'll go to a page and go, I don't see what I'm supposed to be clicking. Always look for the kebab or the hamburger, because that's going to be another totally separate menu. There's the question mark, and you can click on that for help. That's not going to take you to a person, right? Google doesn't do that. They have a lot of people working for them, but not a lot of them who are doing live support. So if you click on the question mark, it will take you to a help page, which will help you with that particular application that you're working on. This is also a really good place to send feedback to Google. So if there's like something that you'd like to see them do or have in Google, in one of the Google apps, you can send them feedback through the question mark. And then there's the gear. The gear is just kind of generally speaking, it's for settings. And this is something that you'll find in all kinds of applications, not just Google. So yellow box, bottom right-hand corner, I want you to note that there are often multiple ways of doing things in Google. There is no way that I know every single multiple way of doing things in Google, but I do want to share with you one of my favorites is, instead of clicking on a kebab or a hamburger, is right-clicking. Because if you right-click on something, oftentimes there is a whole other menu there that just opens up your whole world. And if you don't have a waffle, no problem. You can always get to Drive by typing in the URL. Now you're probably saying to yourself, URLs are kind of crazy and they're really long. Google really set this up very well. So if you want to go to Docs, you go to docs.google.com. If you want to go to Drive, you go to drive.google.com. If you want to go to Classroom, you go to classroom.google.com. Are you seeing there's a pattern? Okay, so great. So that's the deal. All right, so I'm going to be really truthful with you here. I don't use Docs very often. I'm just going to be very, very truthful. Now, I understand Docs is very important. A lot of people use it. They use it for things like straightforward and official documents, right? That it's just a document. Great. They use it for agendas. They use it for meeting minutes. It is perfect for those things. Those are the things that I generally use it for. I use it for agenda, and I use it a lot of times for meeting minutes. And it's 2D, and I'll talk about that in just a second because I want to compare it to Google Slides. I use Google Slides often. There's a reason why I use it, is because I can be in control of it, and I can use it just like I use documents. So I can resize the slides so it's 8.5 by 11, and then I can control what goes on every single page. We are not talking about Google Slides today, though. We are talking about Docs. So I just wanted to let you know this is the lens that I go with, right? But it is the right tool for the job. So the great thing that I like about Slides is that I can do things like add videos. Now, as someone who's an ed tech coach, so I'm creating a lot of stuff that has a lot of graphics in there, including videos, I need something like that. But if I am an office manager and all I'm doing is creating an official document, Slides is not the right tool for the job. Documents is the right tool for the job. And what I mean by 2D versus 3D is that in Google Docs, if you try to put like a picture in or some kind of graphic, it shoves the text over. Very annoying. I know it's kind of a pain. Something like slides, it doesn't do that. It lets you layer things one on top of the other. And that's what I mean by 2D, right? Two-dimensional versus three-dimensional. They're actually layers to any kind of slide. Okay. So that's my thing. I just want to let you know that's where I'm coming from on this one. So the first thing I want to teach you is how to search something within a doc. A lot of you, especially if you're office managers, you're going to be facing things like these gigantic official documents. It could be a contract, it could be, I don't know, it could be whatever, meeting minutes that go back a year, it could be anything. But the bottom line is, if you want to try to find something in that doc, instead of reading through the whole thing, what you can do is do Control F. So on your keyboard, you would hold down the Control key, which is CTRL, and you would type the letter F, Control F, and it will help you. So if it's a really big, long document, you're going to be able to find something. So I'm going to go ahead and show you this really quickly. I have an example here. It's a short document, but I want to show you what this means, what it looks like when you do Control F. So I'm going to do Control F. You can't see that part because I'm on my keyboard. So Control F, and what came up, let me make this a little bit bigger, is a little box that drops down, and it says Find in Document, right? So I can type in a word. I'm going to type in facilitation. Oh, 0 of 0. Okay. Let's see. Facilitator. There's one instance of that. Let me back out a little bit, and I'm going to press enter, and it's showing it to me right now. It has highlighted it in green, right? So this is really great for any kind of official document where you're dealing with like names of students or names of teachers or anything like that. And you can just type in the name and find out where it is, right? That is super helpful. So there are a few other things going on in this little toolbar. Okay. This is, I would flip through all of the times that I see that word. So I'm going to put in a different word here. Leader. There are six times the word leader shows up in this document. So let me show you what that looks like. When I use the little arrows, so if I go, that's one, and if I keep clicking, I can click either way. It's just going to cycle through all of them. That's the first time that it shows. Do you see that the green is moving, right? Okay, so this is really super helpful, because then if this were a huge and I was looking for someone's name, it'd make it a lot easier. Okay, one more thing about this cute little, there is a kebab. Did you see the kebab? Anyone notice the kebab? I'm going to click on the kebab, and what happens is a whole other box shows up. And with this box, I can find a word and replace it. So let's say you've got this official contract, and it has 2020 to 2021 in it for the school year. Let's say that you are continuing with this contract, so you need to update the year. So you would put in here, find, and it's, well, yeah, it's going to be in here. Let's see, 2020-21, and there it is. And I want to change it to 2021-22. And I'm going to click on replace all, and look what happens automatically. Look at the green box. It replaced it. Let's say though that was like 10 million times in that document. Is that going to save you a lot of time? Yeah, it will. Okay, so that's called find and replace. That's one of my favorite things ever. You can get really into the weeds on this, because you can do match the case, right? So if you put in someone's name and you put in like where the correct cases are and everything, it will work, and it will just match the case. Okay, which is really useful. I'm going to go ahead and close that, and I'm going to go back. Where was I? I was here. No, I was here. Okay.
Lori, I just want to mention in the chat, I dropped a shortcut to the most commonly used keyboard shortcuts for all the Google apps. So for those people that want to see additional information, it's there for you.
Keyboard shortcuts are awesome. They make your life a lot easier. Okay, so I did talk about the find and replace on this slide here. Okay, so I'm going to go over very quickly the basics of sharing because this is something I went over with Drive, and this I know this is next steps, but I do want to go over this. So the way that I look at sharing is it's as if you are a traffic light. Okay, so there are 3 levels, right? There are ways that you can share with particular people. That's on the left here, right? That you can share with people in groups, or you can share with large groups of people. And then within that, it's how do you allow them to see your document, right? Are you allowing them to just look at it? They can't do anything else. They can only look at it. That's the red light, right? That's like, okay, sure, I'm going to let you see it, but that's it. You can't do anything else with it. If you're a commenter, it's like a yellow light, right? Everything stays the same in your document, but people can go ahead and put in comments, but everything stays the same in your document. Great. And then editor is a full-on green light, because if you give someone editing rights, then they can do everything that you can do. The only thing that they cannot do is they cannot delete the document. That's it. That's the only difference, right? So viewer, red light, commenter, yellow light, editor, green light. Okay, so just keep those things in mind because you're going to see those colors coming up. Okay, so when you share with someone and the box comes down, right, and you type in someone's email address and you're sharing it with them, this is the time that you give them these things, right? Viewer, commenter, or editor. Once you share it with them as one of those 3 things, then you can go back in and change it a little bit. You get these other 3 things at the bottom here. Okay, so again, viewer is like read only, right? Commenter is they can add comments, they can't make any changes, and editor is they can do anything the owner can do, right? All right, so you giving temporary access means it's like, all right, I'm going to let you either read or comment on my document. Those are the 2 things that you can give temporary access for, either comment or view, not edit. Okay, so I can say, all right, I'm going to let you comment on it, but you get 2 days. Right, so then you would change this in here. I know this is really far out, but you would change the date here. All right, so that's temporary access. I don't think I've ever done that, but if you're working on a deadline, you might want to do that. Okay, so make owner, you can actually make someone else the owner. Let's say that you are going on vacation and you want, or you just kind of started this project, but you're handing it over. So you could make someone else an owner. Now that means that they can remove you if they want. But also when you give owner to someone else, you automatically become an editor, but then the owner can remove you. So just keep that in mind. And then remove, you can remove someone completely from something for whatever reason. But once you share it with people the first time, when you share it with them, they're going to get an email letting them know. Now you can decide not to share it with them. Also at that, you can decide to share it with them and not send them an email. So I'm going to show you that really quickly because this is something, okay, wait. Going back to my example, here's my share box. By default, it's always locked, right? There's always a little lock there. I've already shared this with one person, but I'm going to click here and I get the share box. Now I'm going to add Ron and I'm going to add Vin. Okay. And I'm going to make them commenters. And I'm going to notify them and I'm going to send them a message. Hi, could you please check this and comment if I need to fix anything? It's always good to, let them know what they're supposed to be doing. Okay. And I have it check notify people. Now, if I didn't want to send the email, I would just uncheck that box. And it's telling me what? Okay. And actually, guys, if you could just jump in there and comment so folks can see what happens. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and send that. They're going to get that as an email, but they're also going to see it in their Google Drive under shared with me. Okay. So there's one of those things where they can get in there a couple different ways. All right. I'm going to go back. So I'm going to let you guys comment for a second. Oh, let me say though that, okay, let's say I decide that I'm going to make Ron sorry, Vin. I'm going to make Ron an editor. So all I have to do is I just go up to the share button again. What comes up is the list of people I'm sharing it with. I see that Ron is a commenter. I'm going to make him an editor. And I'm going to click on save. Ron, can you go in there and make some suggestions? That'd be awesome. I'm going to, unless you don't know how to do it, then just watch what I do. Okay, so I'm going to click on save. I think you know how to do it. All right. So I'm going to go back to here. So that's really quickly like the basics. Now I'm going to talk about some nuances. Here we go. All right, so there's commenting. That's what I've given to Vin. I said, okay, Vin, you go ahead and make comments. And there's also suggesting. Now, these are the big differences is that if you want someone to suggest stuff, you have to give them editing rights, full editing rights. There's nothing separate for suggest. Okay. It's just if you're editing, they have to know how to switch between suggesting and editing. Because let me show you the difference here. All right. I'm going to go back in here. Now, there are all these cute little boxes down the side, right? Now, some of them are comments and some of them are suggestions. Now, let me show you what the difference is. There are a couple of things. One is that a comment will have just a check mark next to it and then the kebab. A suggestion will have a check mark or an X, okay? Because basically, if someone makes a suggestion, they are editing this paper for me. They're editing it and I'm getting a note and I can either approve of it or deny, okay? Or decline. I'm sorry, not deny. Now, how if I'm Ron, so I'm going to show you like Ron sees this exact same thing. Up in the upper right-hand corner, you see a blue box. It says editing. So if you've given someone editing rights, but you really want them to suggest, you might want to make sure that they know how to do that because it'll save you some trouble later. So if you say, okay, so, Ron, I want you to make some suggestions for me. I want to make sure that he knows that up in the upper right-hand corner, he can change from editing to suggesting. And that kind of locks it in so that whatever he does down in the body of the document, it does this. So let me show you. So for instance, I'm going to make a change to this. Will receive guidance. I'm going to get rid of and oversight. Okay. So usually if I am in editing mode and I select something and I hit delete or backspace, it's just going to get rid of it. But did you see what it did? It actually gives it the little diacritical mark or whatever they're called. And it says what I did. Delete and oversight. So let's see what Ron did. Ron did this one. He said add location, right? So I can go through here and go, okay, yeah, I agree with that. That's a good idea. I'm going to click on the check mark. So now it completely changes it. It has changed it. It has edited it for me. So if there are teachers in here, and because this is a conversation I had with a teacher recently, and you are going through and you're going through one of your students' essays and you do suggestion, I don't suggest you use suggestion with students. And the reason for, maybe do it once, right? But after that, don't do it after that, because if you're making these suggestions, all they have to do is go through and go check, 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 right? Oh, thank you. You just did their work for them. They're not going to learn anything unless they're really, they're really reflective and they look and they go, oh, I see that period actually shouldn't have been a period. It should have been a comma. Okay, how many kids? I'm sorry, how many kids are going to do that? I'm just going to be honest. So I suggest that if you're working with students, that you instead comments. You add comments. How do you add a comment? So you've seen how I add a suggestion. Let me show you how I add a comment. Now I'm just going to go ahead and go back to editing. It doesn't matter. I could stay in suggesting, but let's say I'm going to put, I'm going to change this Actually, I'm going to put a comment in here. I'm going to comment about third Friday afternoon professional learning. As you can see, there's a little plus here, and that is for adding a comment. And there is this thing here, which is suggesting edits. So this is suggestion. So even when I'm in editing, I can actually do this, but it's just a good idea to switch it to suggesting just to be safe. But I'm going to go ahead and click on add comment. And I'm going to put, will this happen in 2021, 22, and comment. So this is really great because you get this nice running list, right, of things that are happening here. And so let's say that we've done all of our suggestions. We've done it all. Okay, I've looked at it. And actually, I want to go ahead and just accept all of these edits. All right, so I'm going to go to Tools. I'm going to do Review Suggested Edits. And I can just click on Accept All. I know I said review. I reviewed them already. I'm done. So I'm going to click on Accept All. Boom. And now they're gone because they've all been checked, basically. So then I look at this and I'm like, okay, great. Yeah, I'm going to go check, fine. Okay, maybe I'm not going to specify. Here's the other really cool thing. And this is what's really great about using docs for things like meeting minutes. You can actually go ahead and basically assign something to someone or make sure that they look at your comments. So will this happen in 2021, 22? I'm just going to go ahead and put, either I put the at sign or I put a plus sign. So I'm going to put an at sign and I'm going to put Ron's because, Ron's here. So I'm going to click on Ron. What do you think? And what's going to happen is Ron will get an email. He'll get an email. Now it's going to be in that other part of the email, right? Remember how the email has a notifications part of it, but he'll get that notification, right? So that's really cool. Another way that I check on that actually is within Drive. There's another way to see if like someone else has sent you something if you're not looking at your email, but just look at the email. It actually, it works really great. And it's super helpful for like giving people reminding people of the things that they said that they would do in those meetings. This is how you make sure. Now, once Ron looks at it, he'll have like a check mark or he can reply. He can actually pass it on to Vin too, if he really wants to. Okay, so let me go on back.
I'm not seeing it, Lori.
Oh, you're not seeing it?
No.
Maybe it's taking some time.
Yeah.
Because you're here.
Yeah.
That's weird. Usually it works and it's that other part of the email, that notifications piece.
Yeah. Maybe
you can also see it in Drive. It'll tell you if you have the bar thing turned on at the top. It does work. Now it may take a little while. I don't know. And my computer's been running slow anyway. All right.
There's a question in the chat also about where you set the deadline. Again, you covered that briefly. Maybe you could just.
Let me go back. Okay. So let me show that really quickly. I'm going to go back in. I'm going to go to share. Let's say I'm going to give Ron a deadline. I'm going to click here, this little box next to editor, because I'm going to make some changes here. And here's give temporary access. So I click there. And now I can give him temporary access. So I would say until, if I click here, I get a calendar. And then I can click on, March 10th. Okay, great. And then I click on save. So now he has until March 10th to make comments. So that's where that is. All right, going back and going forward. Okay. I just explained this. This is using comments and action items. That's what they call it, action items. I call it assignments, but it's because I'm a teacher. Okay. So version history. They used to call this revision history, and for whatever reason, they changed it to version history. That's fine. But I'm going to tell you my story that they've had version history. See, I keep calling it by the old name. They've had version history for a very long time. This is what makes it so attractive to use something like Google Docs instead of Microsoft Word, because I want you to remember Microsoft Word again lives on your computer. If something happens to your computer, goodbye. You want to use something like Google Docs because it backs it up to the cloud. Not only that, but you can share it with other people, right? Now, sometimes those people you share it with mess it up. I mean, I'll just be really honest with you. So here's my story. This happened several years ago. We had a table, and in the table it was actually a spreadsheet, whatever, but it was a spreadsheet, had a lot of information in it from a lot of different people. I get to work. There are like 5 million frantic phone calls that I have from administrators saying, it's gone. It's gone. Where did it go? It's gone. So someone had gone in and totally unintentionally removed all the information that was in the spreadsheet. It was gone. Yeah, that was stressful. So, but all I did was I used version history. So I was able to not only bring everything back, I was able to figure out who had unintentionally done that. And all that took was just a little phone call and an explanation. But everything was saved. It wasn't a problem. And it was because I used Google, right? So I'm going to show you how that works. So I'm going to go ahead and go back into my example. And the way that you turn this on is you go to File. You would think it would be View, but it's not. Just going to tell you. So it's under File, Version History, and I'm just going to go to See Version History. And over on the right, what I get, see if I can make it bigger. There it is. I get this list. Okay. And what this list tells me is these are all the changes that have been made. This is the time that they have been made. If I look over at the actual document, I don't actually see anything, and it's because I need to click on one of these other ones. So I'm going to start at the beginning. This is the oldest one at the bottom. If I click here, you're going to see this version of it. This is the first version. Okay, that doesn't look real different. I'm going to click on this one now, and we'll see if there are any differences. Ah, there are. Do you see the things that are crossed out? Right, and there are some things that are in gray. So those are the things that have been changed. If I click on the little arrow here, it'll give me a list of the people who made any changes. Well, I was the only person who was in there. So, okay. So I'm going to click here because I see that Ron's name is here. I'm going to click here. This is our current version. There it is. Remember, I accepted all the suggestions on it. So that's why it's kind of nice and clean looking. If I click on this little arrow here, I get a little more detailed information giving me the time, date and time of the changes. So if, for instance, what had happened was everything got erased, right? I would just go to a previous version. So let me show you what that looks like. And don't freak out because basically this is just an example. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click down here on this one. This is a version that I named. So you can actually go in, and if you're, if you know that there are certain times that you need to be tagging this thing, I could go in and name it. This is, example 1 or version 1 without administrative comment, or, whatever. Be as specific as possible. That's all I have to say. But I'm going to click here. And this is example 1. This is before all the suggestions and stuff were accepted. And I'm going to click on restore this version. This is what I want it to look like. Now, you do get a warning. I click on restore this version. It says, okay, are you sure you want to restore this version? Your current document will revert to the version named example 1. That means it's going to remove all the things that were done after that. Okay, so just keep that in mind. I'm going to click on restore. Hello. There we go. So now it's restored everything, right? Right on back. So that's how you can, it's like a time machine. How cool is that? I love it.
Hey,
Okay.
hey, can I mention one thing? How to
Yes.
kind of stay out of trouble a little bit. And I speak from experience. If you're one of those people that are multitasking and you have multiple screens open, and let's say you step away from your desk for a moment, you come back and you start typing away, make sure you think you're on the document or spreadsheet that you think you're on, because a lot of times what happens is you forgot which one you were working on, and then you closed that document and then you made those changes without even realizing what you did, and then somebody knocks on your door, sends you an email and says, what were you doing, because you're the last person that made a save. So just refocus when you sit down after stepping away from your desk, because sometimes you're not actually on the document or the spreadsheet that you think you are.
And something that I did today, if you're using dual screens, okay, so I've got my laptop, but I have my laptop hooked up to a bigger screen as well. So that's an extension, right, of my screen. Well, I have several windows open. So today I started typing away and I was like, wait, it's not showing up. It was showing up somewhere else on a different window. So if you're using dual screens, just make sure that where your cursor is, just check occasionally. So you make sure that stuff goes in the right place. All right, I got to check the time. 2:10. All right, here we go. Oh my gosh, I'm almost there. All right, so that's version history. Links and bookmarks. Um, so I'm not going to go links. It's pretty easy, right? It's like if you want to take some words and you want them when people you have it gets underlined and you click on that and then it goes right. It goes to another website. That's linking. I'll show you that real quickly in just a second. And then bookmarks is something really cool because it really helps people navigate large documents. So I'm going to show you these things right now. If I want to link this to something else, I have to know what the URL is, the other URL. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to select this URL. I'm way at the top of my screen. I hope you can see that. And I'm going to hold down the control key and do C. That's copy, right? So I've copied it. I know nothing happened. I know. Just you have to trust and believe. Okay. So control C. Now I'm going to go back. And again, I'm going to select where I want my link to go. I do control K for link. Now, the way that I remember that is that the last letter in the word link is a K. So, and I use this all the time. So I'm going to do control K. What comes up is a box. It says, okay, this text, educational technology, what are you linking it to? What's the URL? I'm going to do control V, V for victory, V for paste. I know, strange, but control V, there is a reason for that. And I'm going to click on apply. Now I have a nice link. And when I click here, and then I just have to click again to go to that link, right? So just remember, things that are underlined are usually links. How do you check? Move your cursor over it and you can click on it. And if something pops up that's different, then it was a link. Okay, so just remember, things that are underlined are oftentimes links. Now, if let's say this is a really long document and I want to make it easier to get around. So I'm going to put a bookmark in. So let me show you. I'm going to go ahead and click right here in front of the number 2. And I'm going to I think it's a right click. Yeah, no, it's not. Sorry. I'm going to click before the 2 and I'm going to go to insert and I'm going to go down to bookmark. And I get this cute little bookmark. Isn't that nice? How is that useful though, right? Well, I could create a table of contents at the beginning, right? So I could create a table of contents up here. And I could put OCF. So when people want the OCF information, I can make this a link. I'm going to select this, Control K, Control K. Now, all this stuff comes up, but what I like to do is in the link box to get rid of all this junk, because there is something underneath that I want to see. I tap S or any letter, actually, it'll work. Any letter. I get this, bookmarks. I click on the little arrow. There it is. Online collaboration facilitators. Click here, click apply. There it is. So you're not going to be able to tell because this is not a long document, but if I click on it, it would go to bookmark. So let's say that you have a contract that has a million different sections. It's a good idea to go ahead and put a bookmark in front of all these sections and then put something at the top that's a table of contents, right? That's especially good for the folks who don't know how to use Control F. But as you can see, Control F isn't always terribly specific anyway. So this is super useful. That's bookmarks. That is all related to document outline. Well, let me show you that one. What document outline does is it takes your headings that you have already and it kind of makes a table of contents for you. So to see that, I click on, is it view? Yes, view, show document outline. Now what happens, watch what happens on the left. This comes up, right? So this is going by like the different things that I have bookmarks for right now, okay? I can make something, so I don't have to put a bookmark for this outline to work. What I can do is I can select this here, go up here where it says normal text. I'm trying to make that bigger. It says normal text. If I click here and click on heading 3, because it's not that big, and it makes it a heading, look what happened. It put it into the outline. So the outline basically works on bookmarks and it works on formatting. Okay, so, and some of this too, I'm just going to tell you, it takes some playing around with to really figure out how you want it to look. So that's basically how that works. That's the outline. Now, if I close up the outline, so if I click on this little arrow here, I get this thing here. So I haven't totally closed my outline. I've just kind of pushed it off to the side. But if I click here, show document outline again, it shows up. Again, this is really great for really long documents. Now, there are some people now who are using Google Docs to do like meeting minutes, and they're using one document for like a year, right? And they just keep adding on top of it. So there's a lot of information in there. What's a good idea is if you're the person in charge of that, is to go ahead and make like every single day a different, you make it a heading, right? Every single day that there was a meeting, you make it a heading, and then what would show up down the left side are all the different dates, right? And then you could just click through the dates. Super easy. I love that. I actually think it's really cool. Okay, so there's more information here about this. I'm looking at the time. Ron and Vin, are there any questions that I absolutely have to answer? Because I'm looking at the chat.
We've been kind of answering them as you've been going. So
okay, perfect. Okay, so I want to go through this really quickly because I know Mariella is here and wants to know about. So I'm just going to say right now, and I put this at the top here, is that tables are great in Docs. Tables are wonderful. You can go ahead and use those to do like things like sign-in sheets. That's kind of nice, right? Then you can print it really easily and clip it into the the clipboard or whatever if you're an office manager, and that's what people use to sign in, or it's a binder usually. That's great. You could use it for making like schedules for yard duty, right? Those kinds of things. It's great for that. However, if you want to be working with that data at all, so that means like sorting it or filtering it or making it make sums, or doing averages or any kinds of formulas like that, then I'm going to tell you right now, don't even bother with Google Docs. You're going to have to do Google Sheets because otherwise you're going to be doing the math yourself. Now, there are some really cool things you can do with Google Sheets. We are not covering that until next week. So next week, I'm going to be going over Google Sheets, and I'll be doing the next steps in Google Sheets. So I'm going to tell you right now, though, if you've never done Google Sheets, do not come to next steps. Do not. You will freak out because I'm going to tell you about my first time just opening Microsoft Excel. This is years ago. I opened it up, I screamed, and I closed it because it's like, what is this? I don't understand, right? It's basically spreadsheets. But if you've never used Google Sheets before, even if you've used Excel a little bit, I really suggest you go to the basic Google Sheets training. Now, in the next steps, now remember, we give all of these sessions twice. We give them on a Friday and then we give them on a Wednesday. Okay. So you just have to look at the sched for the information about what is when. But I am going to be going over for next steps. I'm going to be going over formulas and I'm going to be going over mail merge using an extension. Okay. So keep that in mind. That's what's happening next week, next Friday. So in terms of adding and editing, let me just go ahead and show you that. This is a table already. So a couple of things with tables. Up and down is a column. Left to right is a row. How do you remember? Think about columns in buildings. Columns at the front of a building go up and down. Same thing as a column in a spreadsheet. Okay, or a table. I'm sorry, a table. So I'm just going to point this out really quickly before I show you very quickly. This top one up here, it's merge cells. This is a one table. This whole thing is a table. This top one up here, these are merged cells. So what people do a lot of times is they'll go, okay, here's a table which has one cell, and then I'm going to make another table which has the other cells. This is so you can just make it one table. You can merge the cells. So let me show you this really quickly. I'm just going to go back here. All right. This is how this works. I'm going to go ahead and add in a table. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to go to insert table. Now it's going to give me boxes. All right, great. So I have to think about it. So remember, tables take planning. Yes, you can remove, you can delete columns, rows, cells, whatever, not cells, columns and rows. You can go ahead and delete and add. So you want to start with something, but try to, think it through before you do this. So I'm going to go ahead and just do this. And what it does is it gives me kind of something kind of skinny. Okay. This is one table, by the way, but it's going over a page. So I'm just going to move it down. I'm going to do insert, and I don't talk about this. This is in Darcy's stuff, but I'm going to do insert break, page break. Right. So I created a page break there. So that means that this shoved everything down. All right. So now here I have these cells. Each one of these is a cell. Every single rectangle is a cell. I want to merge these at the top because I want it to just have one heading at the top, but I want it to be all connected. So I'm going to go ahead and select these cells, right click, merge cells. Watch what happens. Boom. Now it's one cell. I just saw a bunch of you go, oh, right? Okay. So let's say now though, I should have had another column in here. So I'm just going to right click here. And I'm going to say that I want to insert a column I can either pick right or left. I haven't put any words in here yet, so it doesn't really matter. It will matter if you've already started filling it in and you're like, ooh, actually, I needed to have a column in the middle there. So I'm going to go ahead and put the insert column left. Boom. Right now I have 5 across. I had 4 across before. All right. And let's say I want to make this one color up here. This gets a little more complicated. Okay. It's not as easy as like clicking in the box and picking a color up here. It's not that easy. Because if I do that, oh, it did work. Never mind. Usually it's like, did they change that? Hold on a minute. Ooh, I'm going to try that again. Oh, great. Okay, they changed it. So now you can actually make every single set. It's amazing what happens when I start using docs again. But that's what you can do. You can change the colors as you need to. Okay. There's also this whole thing about borders, right? I want this to have a darker border at the bottom. I click on this little arrow and it gives me some little pictures. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on here. It didn't really make it much darker. It's kind of lame. That's okay. You have to play with it. Sometimes you just have to play with these things to make it look the way you want it to. But like I said before, if you're going to do anything that has anything to do with formulas, averages, sums, working with any kind of data, you don't want to mess with the tables and docs. This is just to make, to organize your information.